You are listening to the Mark Guzman Podcast Experience. Life can be difficult at times, and the everyday grind can wear anyone down. With all of the pressure that we go through every day to be our best selves, we sometimes lose track of what our best selves should look like. My guest today is someone who seeks to help others rediscover who they are and recapture their self-esteem. So please welcome my guest today, Jeanice Cummings of You Win Working With Me Life Coaching. Thank you for being on the podcast today. I'm excited for this one because we have not had a life coach here before on the podcast. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with the podcast, but we have a wide range of individuals that come in from all types of different backgrounds, walks of life. And really excited for this because just looking at the outline and topics, there's a lot for us that we can jump into that are, I think the topics will help out a wide range of people. So let's get started. Now, actually, before we get started, I do want to mention that we are drinking a Stella Rosa red wine. And this is a sweet wine, and it's very interesting. Do you like it? Have you tasted it already?
Oh, it's very good.
And it smells like, we were just talking, it smells strawberry. It smells just like that Fanta soda. That's exactly what it smells like. And it's really good.
It is.
That's very good. So we will link that up for those interested. It was $13 at Bevmo. Really great deal. So let's get started. Where did you grow up, and when did you move to California?
I grew up in Oklahoma, and I graduated, and then I went to college for 3 years, and I came to California to visit my dad.
Okay. What college did you go to?
I went to Northeastern State College and Eastern Oklahoma State College.
Okay. What year did you come to California?
About 71.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And I came to visit one summer, and I decided to stay because the environment was more diverse than Oklahoma.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so what kept you here in California? Was it the diversity alone, or was there a lot more to it?
And the fact that Oklahoma was kind of slow, and I felt like I wanted to be exposed to a lot more than Oklahoma. I couldn't see myself sitting there for the rest of my life in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
You know, it just wasn't me.
So where are you at? North Bay, South Bay?
East Bay.
East Bay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What do you like most about the East Bay? Because like my career, what I do is I'm a property manager and real estate agent, and I really like to ask people why they love the Bay Area. Why is it that they live here?
Well, why I live here is because you can go, I live right in the middle of everything, so I have choices. I'll go to Sacramento, San Francisco. For me, it's the location. And I like the weather for me because it's cold all the time, and I like cold weather. So,
yeah.
And I also like the opportunities that exist out here.
So let's talk about you growing up.
Mm-hmm.
And you're the oldest of 14, is that correct?
That is correct.
14 siblings.
Right.
Wow. So how was that like?
Busy. Busy. Because I'm the oldest girl, I had a lot of responsibilities with taking care of my brothers and sisters. I became good at storytelling, so I used to keep them entertained with storytelling. And also, I would work on things to get them motivated to listen to what I wanted them to do without being punitive, because I didn't like being punitive. And it was a lot. It calls for a lot because there's a lot of responsibilities that go with the oldest girl, you know. So I didn't really get to feel who I was as a result of taking care of people. No. But it was good. It was good. It didn't seem like that many people. When you have that many people in your family, it doesn't seem like it's crowded.
You just get used to it, right?
Yeah, you do. You just get used to it. You never feel crowded or anything. But one thing I did do is I really enjoyed my private space. So I would kind of run away sometimes and go off to myself.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Do you find yourself more of an introvert or extrovert?
introverted at times.
So you
Yeah.
definitely needed that personal
Oh,
space and
yeah.
get away.
Uh-huh. And even today, I demand it.
Yeah.
So it
Now,
was good. It was good. It was good because I learned a lot about interactions, a lot of personalities.
I bet.
Mm-hmm.
What's the age difference between you and the youngest?
Um. Oh wow. I'm the oldest, so right now they're in their late 30s, no, early 40s. They're in their early 40s, so it's a lot of years in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now,
hmm
what were some of the challenges that you faced growing up in a family of that size?
Blending in. I mean, you just kind of with so many kids, you're just kind of one of the many. So that's one of the challenge.
So sharing attention,
Pardon?
sharing attention.
Yeah, yeah. Well, actually, there's not too much attention that goes on
Okay.
because the younger ones are more. You would probably be more prone to need it than I did. So I found other ways to entertain myself because I like reading Nancy Drew books and writing poetry, which I do still today.
Okay.
That was my outlet.
Now, did you go through any battles of low self-esteem?
Definitely, definitely. But the way it worked for me is that I didn't know what it was. I didn't know anything about self esteem, but I was reading an article, I remember in 11th grade, and it mentioned what it took to have self esteem. And I said, I don't have any of that. And so once I recognized it, I started reading articles about it and I started doing exercises to increase my self esteem. Okay. And it's a forever battle. I mean, it like doesn't go away. It's something that you have to practice on a daily basis.
Yeah.
hmm
Yeah. And that's something that I think a lot of people deal with on so many different levels. Just the
Sure.
self-esteem. I mean, just the idea of other people judging you
hmm
or your own self-worth sometimes. Like
hmm
how did you correct it and how has that really affected your business today?
Well, actually, I didn't correct it immediately. It was a process because recognition was the first step of what it was. Because I had it and I didn't know what it was. Recognition, how it affected me in my business is that I know that it exists in a lot of people, and a lot of people don't know what it is. So it has affected me in my business that I kind of want people to understand the depth of it because they don't really understand it at all.
Are there any exercises someone suffering from low
Yeah,
self-esteem can do?
there's like looking in the mirror, looking at yourself, and finding qualities about yourself. Some people have to really dig to find those qualities because they're so buried, but they're there. And if they're not there, then I start citing some things that I see to get them to start seeing it.
So probably a lot of self-pep talk.
A
Does
lot of
that help?
self pep talk, and actually, it has to go into your consciousness. And I believe for me, when I started reciting it into the mirror, I started believing it. It's something about saying it out loud that it goes better into your consciousness.
Yeah.
hmm
I think you're thinking it, you're speaking it,
hmm
and you're hearing it.
Right.
It's like taking notes. Sometimes they tell you take
hmm
notes, actually write it as opposed to typing it because
hmm
it's a little bit different. So maybe that same effect where you're speaking it and you're hearing it at the same time helps it get ingrained more into your
It
conscious
does.
mind.
It does. And letting go of that block because oftentimes there's a block there because you've been associated with negative concepts about yourself from family or just the environment itself.
Hmm.
You know, so it takes a while to get it because that block is going to be in the way unless you try to get rid of that block out of the way. So
Now,
go in.
now, if you have low self-esteem, is it something that you can, let's say, figure out an exercise that you can hack it and then all of a sudden you're better within a week or two? Or is it something that you really have to work at for a very long time or maybe the rest of your life?
I would say the rest of your life because there's so many situations where your self-esteem is tested. So I would say the rest of your life, but I would say that it's a process. It doesn't happen overnight, and you have to put concentrated energy into it. to make it happen.
So it sounds like you have to learn the tools to deal with
You
it for
do.
the rest of your life,
Hmm.
because there's always going to be situations that arise that you have to, you know,
On the job, in the store. I mean, your self-esteem is always being tested.
yeah. So let's
Hmm.
talk about coaching. When did
Hmm.
you decide to get into life coaching?
Well, actually, I've worked in community services for over 34 years, but as a human services person, I'm more directive. I've got tired of being directive. I wanted to do something where the client was more agreeable to change. And
Hmm.
so that's how I came up with the life coaching, because I work with clients that are ready or moving in that direction, because sometimes you're not going to hit a home run the first time out, but long as you're moving in that direction and you're curious about why these things are going on for you, those are the kind of clients that I prefer to work with.
Okay.
Hmm.
So what was the switch for you in your mind that you told yourself, I need to do this?
Well, doing community services and human services for over 34, 35 years, the switch came when I read what life coaches do, and I wanted to uh, more or less be led by what it is that they want instead of what my goals and objectives are for the client. Because a lot of times when I work in community services, the goals and objectives are already there by the agency, so you follow those, But I wanted something where the client may had more power in terms of getting what they want, even though I do that in that sector, but I wanted to just
Okay.
switch up totally around that.
So it sounds like you focus more on helping your client realize that they can do this themselves and guide them along the process, as opposed to telling them, hey, here's how you need to think.
Hmm. Now, because I work with people, I work specifically with women, as medical social worker as well, and I have to be directive because they actually don't know how to get started, you know. Um, and I don't have a lot of time, so I have to move rather quickly. But in coaching, I don't. It just flows the way it should flow, and that's what I enjoy about it.
Are your coaching programs like 1 hour sessions, or how does that work?
1 hour sessions, yeah, 1 hour, 1 hour and a half. Is a lot of it is client based, client focused, but the minimum is an hour.
Okay. Now, how do you come up with the name You Win Working with Me?
It didn't start off like that. It started off look inside, you know, um, something about look inside to find what you need. Okay. And then I kept toying around with it. And I said, what about winning? Let's put something positive in front of it to get people to want to win, and they can win with me. And so that's how I came up with the you win working with me. Because, as you start off with one thing, you wind up with something else. But I'm always led from a spiritual basis on where I need to go.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah. Now, your session, do you also do group sessions?
I do group sessions. I
Okay.
do.
Is that the majority of your business, group sessions, or is it the one on one?
Well, it's a little bit of both. The majority right now are group sessions. Because as I say, I do a lot of work with foster care parents, and I do a lot of work with women, and I do a lot with relationships. Because at the jail, I was talking to men about enhancing their relationships with their partners.
Okay.
Mhm.
So, um, I've got a question and I'm curious about
Mhm.
this. Are there benefits to group over one-on-one sessions, or will one-on-one sessions are one-on-one sessions still better than group?
Depending on what it is that you're bringing, like compassion fatigue is groups, because people need to see the commonality that they have, because compassion fatigue can be embarrassing in my profession, because we do the work and we always want to feel like we don't need any help. It's kind of an ego thing sometimes. So I do more group stuff right now, but individual sessions are good. Yeah, especially for coaching and other things. Yes.
So would you recommend even a client to do group sessions with possible one-on-one sessions on the side?
Yes, I would. I would, depending on what they want. Like life coaching, individual all the way. Compassion fatigue or burnout or something like that, group. Because people feel more comfortable when they realize that they're not the only person that's having this issue. But individually, it's more personal.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Now you do life coaching, happiness coaching, and
Hmm.
self-esteem coaching.
Right.
How do those three differ?
Okay, life coaching is mostly, well, they're all client based, but life coaching, I'm guiding you and uh, you're checking in with me. We're developing goals together. I'm your partner in this process. You know, uh, I'm here to support you in any way you want. Uh, so, life coaching to me, it requires the person to look inside themselves and decide that they want something different, you know. Uh, and the difference to me is that it's more personal, and it's
Now,
client led.
what's the typical difference that they're looking for in life? Is it relationship? Is it work? Is
It,
it
it might be any of those things, And if it's something that is related to psychological issues, I also do referrals for that because I like to stay within the scope of what uh, UN is about. You
Mhm.
know, um, yeah,
So what kind of person would you recommend life coaching to?
somebody who's dissatisfied with the way the life is going for them, somebody that needs some guidance on how to get started, somebody that needs somebody to do the checks and balances with them. You know, somebody that is eager to see a life change.
So someone wants to do a life change,
Hmm.
whether that's let's say work.
Hmm.
Um, what's the first step? What should they do for themselves?
Uh, if they want
Let's
to.
say switch careers.
Hmm. Okay. Well, first we would discuss some of the challenges that are there. Maybe we can minimize some of it so they won't have to necessarily quit immediately. But we also want to look at, um, is it feasible to do it, at this particular time, because I don't want to work on something that's going to cause them additional stress later. So the first thing that I will work on is, let's look at what you're experiencing on the job first. How can we mitigate it? Can you stay a little longer? What are your options? That's the first thing that we would do.
Okay, because there's a lot of responsibilities. I mean, family and financial
I know.
obligations alone.
I know. And I don't like to make any suggestions that are going to cause more stress on the person. Even if they don't see it, if I see it, I'll help them recognize that that may not be a good idea right now. Maybe we can work on some options for you right now.
Okay, what would be some of those options, for
Some of the
example?
options would be, if it's related to work, a lot of the options to me is that you're not having you may need to increase your satisfaction in your personal life, because maybe you're so focused on the job and the negativity that you're immobile and you're not doing the things that you like to do. Maybe we can increase that. Maybe that'll help you be able to stay on the job a little longer.
Okay, so I
Hmm.
like where this is going because I know a lot of people that work hard, work a
Hmm.
lot of hours, and one of the biggest problems is exactly what you mentioned is that they're not able to do some of the things they want to do, whether that's spending more time with family
Hmm.
or whether it's spending time on hobbies. So, someone who works a lot, I mean,
Hmm.
they have to take a step back somehow, or can they still modify their schedule to where they can take advantage of both? I mean, in your
Something's got to give. I mean, something's got to be minimized, in my opinion, you know, because if you're working a lot of hours, somebody may not be happy at home. And you got to decide uh, what's important to you, because, this is a dual relationship. And, maybe the family is suffering as a result of you working so hard. Um, maybe you could cut back just a little, because I don't like jumping into things straight up. I like to just small little baby steps along the way.
Okay, so like
Hmm.
creating small little habits.
Right, right.
Baby steps, they become
Uh-huh.
habits, and then
Hmm.
from there you can then keep moving on.
And then we talk about the advantages, because we always want to talk about the advantages. What are the advantages that you see from doing that? That's another motivation for them to continue on the journey, and then we celebrate the successes. If
Hmm.
they've done two or three things that is different from what they normally do, that's a success. So we celebrate it.
Okay.
Mhm.
Now your motto is you already have what you need inside of
Mhm.
you.
Mhm.
Can you explain that a little bit more?
Well, because my master's is in holistic education, and I believe in the holistic theory. I believe that you're already a whole person, you know, and I feel that we have these innate qualities already, but we just don't tap into them. And because the world doesn't support us around it, it makes them go even under, even more. But I believe you already have. Let's just tap into it and bring it to light, like create it.
We live such a busy lifestyle that I think many of us forget to just enjoy the journey. I mean, we literally
I
have,
know.
however way you want to look at it, but we
Hmm.
have one life
Hmm.
and enjoy the journey. And, you can love your career, you can love your family,
Hmm.
everything that you do, but you have to really enjoy it at some point and preferably 100% of the time.
And when all is said and done, who do you have in the end? I mean, a job is nice or career is nice and stuff, but uh, that's not going to take care of you when you need it all the time. It's the people that are close to you that will be there when you need them.
So, do you work with clients that are consumed with work and decide they want to work less?
Maybe not initially. They don't come in like that.
Okay.
They come in for another reason.
Okay.
But after we talk and we examine a lot of the areas that's going on, then we might discover that they may be spending too much time at work, and let's cut back a little, enjoy the family, take trips, call in sick. What the heck? I mean, let's just call in sick. You got the time.
Yeah.
I know people got hours and hours of time. They don't even dare touch it.
My mother is a perfect example of that. I mean, she literally never takes any vacations, sick days, and she racked up, I want to say, 3 months of just time she could take off to the point where she works for the school district and, they have rules and
Mhm.
and they're like, Ruth, you have to just take these days off. You just have to because we can't keep pushing these on year after year. So
Mhm.
it's nice for her
And they
because now she's
lose.
taking, yeah, and now she's taking more vacation.
Oh,
Well, technically
good.
sick days, right?
Okay.
So she's taking more time and she's enjoying it. But for many years, she was like, no, I'm able to work. I'm not sick. I've got nothing
Mhm.
else to do. I love what I do, and I'm just gonna work.
And a lot of the baby boomers have that attitude because we grew up with this work concept thinking, work, 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 don't call in, do a job. I never did have that thought though. That was never my issue around work. So I wasn't, I call it a curse sometimes, because it's a little much, a little much, But I think people find satisfaction from their job. We need to find satisfaction from other things. That's one way to stop relying on your job for that.
So this all ties into happiness coaching because
Hmm.
really what we're getting down to
Hmm.
the core of it all is just being happy with yourself
Yes,
and happy with the life that you're living.
right.
So happiness coaching, what goes into the process of happiness coaching?
Well, we start looking at what are the things you need to let go of, the grudges that you have against people, the need to control, your pride.
I like that.
Yeah.
When
Hmm.
many people, in fact, even in my mind right now as I was asking
Hmm.
you the question, what goes into the process of happiness coaching, I'm thinking most people think, well, I need this and I need that in order to be happier. But what you said really hits it on the nail is that
Mm-hmm.
you really need to let go of things in order to be happier.
Happiness is a state of mind, you know, because now I think what they're doing, they're bringing happiness into the workplace now. You know, I think it's a good idea, but if the work itself, if the establishment is not making any changes, I don't see where it's going to benefit the person. But it's a state of mind because it's easy to be dissatisfied when things are not the way that you feel. I've even done it, you know. I've done it plenty times working in the workplace, you know, and began to focus, and then that made me unhappy. And
Yep.
then, yeah, so then I had to let go of what I couldn't control and, you know, either look for another job or try to stay there and deal.
Yeah, luckily there are some companies that are trying to change that. And
Hmm.
one new position that you're seeing more and more of, and some companies have different variations to the name, is a chief heart officer.
I like that.
Yeah, and
That's
that person,
great.
all they're in charge of doing is
Really?
making sure that the employees are happy.
That's nice.
And if they notice that some employees are not
Hmm.
happy because they want something, they figure out
Hmm.
ways to make it happen.
Hmm. I don't think that enough focus, I think more on the jobs, a lot of focus is on productivity and not people. People are the foundation
It
of
is.
everything, you know, but people go through and they don't even notice when somebody's looking sad. And, you know, as a part of my, uh, the advantage of growing up in a large family is that for me, I notice things. I notice when somebody's not feeling or they're not themselves. And then I go up and I ask them, how you doing? You know, but that's just a common courtesy that we have forgotten to do. And even if it is done, it's not sincere because you could tell the difference between sincerity and
Exactly.
realism. You know, like a job will say, you know, well, you mean the world to us. We can't do without you. But then on the other hand, they're doing other things that say different, you know. So I work with the client on looking at some of the things that contribute to their unhappiness, you know, because a lot of people like to think they have control, but they don't really have control, and they don't want to let go of it, you
Now,
know.
do you think it's important to audit the people that you hang around with?
I do. I mean, I do. Well, audit when you mean like I'm intuitive about what goes on with them, or what do you mean?
Like, for example, if
Hmm.
you hang out with too many people that are negative,
Oh yeah. Oh no.
and they just pull you down,
No.
as opposed to hanging around positive people
Hmm.
that lift you up.
Oh, definitely. Because I can, if I know it's a negative person and I see their phone number, I don't even pick up the phone. Because, you know, that's your job. Your job is to take care of yourself. If it means eliminating people, some family members you can't eliminate, but you take them in small doses, you know, and you know when it's time for you to get going. You look at the watch and say, oh, okay. Oh, I had a great time. I'm out of here, okay? Because you don't want to be disrespectful, but you got to look out for yourself. Nobody's going to do it but you.
Yeah. And I think some people feel guilty about feeling that way, or maybe even leaving a party early,
Hmm.
or how the other person might
Hmm.
view them and think of them. And instead of cutting out early and just limiting the negative people's uh, time spent with them, they spend extra time, and then that rubs off on them.
And two, you just mentioned something. What makes us care so much about what people think? You know, because I guess we're programmed to worry about that kind of thing. That's one of the things that contributes to your unhappiness, worried about what other people think. Because when you say you should be doing something, that may not even be your thinking. That might have just been inherited from your mom, from your dad. I should be doing this. I should be doing that. You don't really want to do that. You know, a lot of things are inherited. We didn't come up with those ideas. We just picked them up,
Hmm.
you know, so we contribute to our own happiness and the way um, lots of times, you know, we have to meditate. There's certain things that we have to do. We have to show gratitude. You have to really spend time with you.
Yeah, one of the best quotes, and I just pulled it up here on my phone, is
Hmm.
the courage that is needed the most isn't the kind to drive you to prevail over others, but the kind that allows you to be true to your truest self, no matter what other people want you to be.
I like that. Yeah.
I heard that quote just
That's a nice
about
one.
3 days ago
That's a
and
nice one.
loved it.
We just put too much attention on what other people think about us, And as we were talking, it's kind of like, you know, um, you don't have to explain anything to anybody. We spend much time explaining all the time.
Trying to
Why?
justify.
Why? What's the purpose? You know, I just don't want to do it. Period. But I had to learn that. I didn't come here doing that because, I suffered from low self esteem and depression, a little depression as a result of that. But now, because I practice it on a regular basis, it's easy for me to say that. And sometimes I don't even say anything because I know what I'm going to do,
Hmm.
you know. And plus, I don't need to explain all the time. When you start explaining, all you do is explain, one explanation after another. It gets very tiring.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I remember when I got into the real estate business at 18.
Wow.
And before I graduated high school, I was already studying for my real estate exam. And so
Mhm.
I knew I wanted to get into real estate. And the backlash from a lot of people in my family or friends of the family that said, "Hey, you're doing the wrong decision because real estate's not a career,
Mhm.
or you need to go to college." And just listening to all this negative feedback was just, it can really put you
Oh
down,
yeah.
and it's a lot of
Oh yeah.
negativity. And it's really hard just to keep
Mhm.
focused on your goal
It
and just to
is.
keep pushing through. But that's
Mhm.
what you need to do. Like, taking their opinions, but just realize they're just opinions. And then you have your own goal, what you want to
Mhm.
do, and you just have to go out and do it.
Yeah, that's true. And it's not easy. It's really not easy, but in the end you have to please yourself. You know, and lots of times when people say something, I don't even argue with them about it. Just say, "Oh, okay," because I know what I'm going to do.
And then you check your watch and say,
And
I
then I
got to
say, "Oh,
go.
yeah, as a matter of fact, I do have an appointment. I'll talk to you later." Because I try to be very kind to people, you know, but I know what I'm going to do, you know, because I've listened to people before and it's got me in a lot of trouble. Oh, you shouldn't try that. That's not going to work. Then I look at somebody else and they tried it and they got successful at it. So, I've learned if I'm going to make a mistake, let it be mine. Let it not be because I chose to listen to somebody else.
Hmm. Now, this ties into self esteem coaching, because listening to a lot of the negative feedback in your life, it can really
Mm-hmm.
put you down,
Mm-hmm.
especially if you're not already at a certain level of comfort or high enough self esteem or confidence in yourself. That negative feedback can just really put you down even lower.
It
So,
can.
how do you work with people that are struggling with low self esteem?
With low
And
self-esteem.
I'm also curious to know if you work with only adults or do you also work with children?
Adults only right now. Yeah. Yeah. Um, with people who have low self esteem, at first it's hard for them to admit that that's what it is. So I have to do some exercises with them so they can recognize that that's what it is. Because when you don't have, there's a lot of things that go into self esteem. The inability to set boundaries, saying yes when you mean no. All of these are products. We look at the products of low self esteem first. And then they got those things. And then I talk to them about that's what you have. So, how are we going to work on it? So, I start giving them little baby steps to take. Again, baby steps, because I always feel like Rome wasn't built in a day. And I don't like to rush people. Um, we start doing exercises. And the first one, as I said before, is name 5 qualities about yourself. Some people can't even name one, so that's a definite sign that self esteem is an issue. But it's something that you have to want and you can change it, but you have to work at it. So when I work with people, I'm very clear on it's going to take you to work. We're going to work together on this. Because if I'm working by myself, it's my program instead of yours. So I try to get a commitment from them to do it. But through the exercises, reporting back to me on how's it going, and then we move from that into stages. Yeah.
So, do you think a lot of low self esteem is really from each individual inside or from the outside world?
I think it starts from your environment, and that could be your family. Sometimes your family starts it going, and I don't say that they do it deliberately, but sometimes they can be very negative. Very negative.
Well, different generations growing up, how they were raised,
hmm
different upbringings, and yeah, I mean, there's
And
a
they
lot
don't
of
mean any harm. That's all they know.
yeah,
Because you could be with a relative and all you hear is negative the whole time you with them. And you try to throw in something positive, it might work for a while and they go back to the negative. But I think initially it starts in your environment. Yeah, it starts. And then, of course, after a while, when situations happen and you start feeling bad about them, you start buying into what they're saying, you know, like,
it's like
mhm,
your initial exercise of speaking in the mirror and saying five good things about
mhm,
yourself.
mhm,
If you're not doing that and you're hearing five negative things about
mhm.
yourself from other people, it
Uh-huh.
gets ingrained.
Yeah, and you have to start minimizing the time you spend with these people initially until you get stronger. That's with anything. I mean, when you're still going, learning something, you can't be around something that's gonna tempt you. So you start minimizing. Like my mom, she is very negative. And so when I got strong enough, I told her, if you're gonna continue to talk negative to me, I'm gonna have to talk to you less. I'm fine. So she chose what she wanted to do. People need to be able to make a choice, and you need to be able to tell them, "This is the way I want it."
And
And
address it with them,
and
right?
address it with them. Be honest with them. You know how many passive aggressive people are in the world today? They won't tell you nothing to your face. And you'll ask them, "You got any issues?" "No, everything's
Oh,
fine."
but they go to Facebook or
Yeah. And
Instagram
then they boom, boom,
nowadays.
boom, they talking about what you did. And I asked you, was it okay? You know? So, I guess it's kind of like, to me, it's like you have to choose what it is you want. And you have to stick by it. If it means minimizing your contact with people, you have to do it because you're going to miss them because you like being around them. But they're not serving you. So, kind
Yeah,
of
so
like that.
it really comes down to you have to audit the people around you, see what the pluses, minuses
Mm,
are, and adjust from there.
exactly
And that
what
can
you
be really
said.
tough because if it's your mother or father,
Mm-hmm.
brother, sister, someone very
Mm-hmm.
close to you, or even the spouse,
Mm-hmm.
that becomes a very hard decision in making a life change for yourself to become happier.
But I always believe uh, that I need to tell you that this is what I need.
Correct.
Okay?
Communication.
If you choose to not adhere to that, I also have to accept that too. You know,
100% right.
you know. But I think I owe it to you to let you know that I'm not comfortable with that. I'm not. And why should I just carry that around like that? And then it's going to manifest another way. I'm going to get mad at myself. I'm going to, get angry. It's got to come out. It's
Yeah.
got to come out.
Yep.
But once I tell you, you've already made a choice whether you want to continue your behavior or not. But what I'll do is I'll tell you, well, you can't minimize it if it's your husband or your wife because you got to be with them. But maybe it might be something that they want to do that I may choose not to do, you know, and I'll let you know that I'm doing it because I think everything's cool if I let you know. It becomes passive aggressive when I just do it to just be mean.
Yeah.
But I'm not being mean, I'm being assertive.
Now, on your website, you mentioned that people see noticeable differences after 4 or 5
Mm-hmm.
sessions. Is that
Right.
about average? Now, I know people read
Mm-hmm.
something like that and they think they're
Mm-hmm.
going to be 100% cured in four to
Mm-hmm.
five sessions.
Mm-hmm.
But are they really cured in four to
No,
five
no, they're
sessions
not
or
cured.
they
They
just see a
just they
difference?
start recognizing things that you discuss with them. They're not cured by a long shot because some of this behavior started from childhood. So it's going to take some time, you know. No, you just see a noticeable difference. You start examining, you start watching people more, you start recognizing that every time you're with this friend, they talking down on you or they making you feel recognition. That's the 4 to 5 sessions.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about compassion fatigue. You've
Mm-hmm.
mentioned it a few times
Right.
on the podcast. Let's recap it. What is compassion fatigue, and who's at risk of getting it?
Compassion fatigue, in my perspective, is a soul depletion. It's like in my profession, um, you hear stories of traumatic experiences all the time, and they begin to affect you. You know, I'll give you an example. I worked at a battered woman's shelter, and I would hear stories all the time, and it began to make me pessimistic. You know, and
Do
I,
you feel that at some point you went numb to it?
yeah, I did. I did. And they would come in and they would tell their story, and I'd be sitting up like, so what? I mean, which is very, people would think it's insensitive, but I did start beginning to get numb about it. And actually, it began to irritate me. I began to isolate more, you know. Because I'll never forget, I was talking to a friend of mine and I was talking about battered women, and I was really coming down on them real hard. And the guy that was with her, he said, "Boy, she works with them." He was like, "God, she's really hard on them." But I didn't know it was compassion fatigue, because compassion fatigue is fairly new. I've known about it for a long time, but it's just coming to the light.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know quite a few 911 dispatch operators, and the calls that they get, or they have to be on the line with someone who's being attacked
Mm-hmm.
or murdered, and it's just ridiculous, some of the stories that they experience. And it also seems as if they get to a certain point where it's like, okay, here's another
Yeah, here's
call
another
and
one.
another
Oh,
battery,
well,
another
yeah.
murder, another,
Uh-huh.
it's just another.
Desensitized. You
Yeah.
become desensitized to it. The disadvantage is that you don't have a private life after that. You really don't. You're tired all the time. You're sad all the time. You actually take on the feeling of the person that has been traumatized.
So in your training, how do you get out of compassion fatigue? How do you
Well,
fix it?
First, understanding what it is, and admitting that you have it. Because in my profession, we don't go around admitting that we need help, because we're the helpers. Helpers don't need help, you know. And the first thing is admitting that it's okay to have it. That's why a group is better, because they're able to talk about, well, I experienced this and I experienced that. And it becomes normalized. Once it's normalized, then people can be honest about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then it becomes easier to like reset your mind, right?
To mitigate it and to recognize it in your coworkers, and go to them, and you'll be able to tell them. And you'll say, hey, you kind of, you're on the edge right now. Why don't you take a couple of days off? Because you can get so engrossed in compassion fatigue, you still go to work like a robot and and just exist. So I always, I haven't started yet, but I always like compassion fatigue ambassadors that look out for each other when we're on the edge, and we come to each other and tell each other about it. We also develop a plan, an action plan for you once you leave that training. So these are things that you're going to do in order to ensure that you don't suffer from compassion fatigue.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you're not aware you're
Mm-hmm.
suffering from compassion fatigue,
Mm-hmm.
what's a obvious sign?
An obvious sign is the numbness, the pessimistic attitude, the bone tired. You're just extremely tired all the time. You wake up tired. You go to bed tired. You hate when you hear a client coming, and you hate to see them. You hate to talk to them. Those are clear signs that it's compassion fatigue.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, you also do motivational speaking,
Mm-hmm.
correct?
Right.
So where do you speak at often, and in front of what groups?
A lot of foster care groups, women a lot, Um, I do a lot of work. I do some work for First Five, you know. Um, but with the motivation interviewing, you tell me what it is you want. Like a lot of people have trouble setting boundaries. It might be around boundaries, motivational speaking around boundaries. It might be around um, learning how to love yourself, you know. So whatever topics that they feel like the group needs, they tell me, and then I bring it to them. So, yeah.
Okay. So you do speaking with
hmm
foster parents.
Foster parents, right?
Now, I want to ask you why
hmm
and how does that translate with what you do?
Well, I do it because a lot of foster care parents, they didn't plan to be foster care parents. They were like, rather than see the child go into foster care, they'd rather have the child because it's a relative. So um, I want them to know that it's okay that you don't want to do this. You know, because you can't go to somebody all the time and say, I don't want to do this. Because, you know, it kind of looks kind of bad,
Hmm.
you know, because we still think about what other people think. But in my classes, you can say how you feel and you won't be judged at all about it because there's all the whole class feels like that basically, and it's okay to say it because once you say it you have some type of control over it, you know. um, so that's why I like working with foster care parents. And then there are isolated population. I try to draw out the isolated population so that they can get a better quality of their life that they're not having right now. Like catch the bus, go to Reno, get a babysitter. Don't try to be mother of the year or foster mom of the year. Get some time. Remember what you used to like when you were younger. Because they've forgotten that I used to like to knit, that I used to like to go to the show, that I used to like to just take myself to lunch. You know, they lose themselves. And I try to help them find themselves in the motivational interviewing because they're going, oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. You know?
Okay. Now,
Mm-hmm.
doing what you do, and you've been doing this for many years, really just helping people
Mm-hmm.
in your journey through life,
Uh-huh.
what have you learned the most about yourself and how this has really benefited your own life?
Okay. I've learned number one that I have to have my own coach, you know, because
Our best
I
coaches
need
have
yeah,
their own coaches too.
right,
Yeah.
right. And another thing I've learned is that, well, I kind of already knew it, is that we're not so different from each other at all. You know, it's just the way we internalize it and the way we take control over it. You know, um, another thing that I've learned in my journey is that it's okay. It's okay to share part of yourself with people, you know, because it makes them feel that you're authentic, you know. Because a lot of times I say, well, I had that same issue, you know, because a lot of times when we're taught in this profession, you're not supposed to, most of the time, share things. So I've learned that sharing a little bit about myself, it doesn't hurt at all. Matter of fact, it helps the relationship. Not just all about me, but yeah, I had that challenge myself. You know, and kind of we're bonded, and it makes our work together much easier. hmm
Well, if someone wants to work with you, what's the best way for them to contact you and what's your website?
Okay, my website is youwinworkingwithme.com. And my email is youwinworkingwithme@gmail.com. And also my phone number. Either way, either one of those three ways is fine.
Perfect. So we'll have all that linked
Mm-hmm.
up in the description.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you so much for coming on to the podcast. It was very insightful. Hopefully, the listeners were able to take
Mm-hmm.
back at least one tool that they can use to recognize something in their life for a change, happiness, compassion fatigue, another big one. So thank you
Mm-hmm.
for being on the podcast. It
Thank
was
you
a lot
for
of fun.
inviting me. Great. I love it.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
perfect.
Thanks.
Thanks. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. Thank you to our producer, Sam Lemon. Please subscribe, like, comment, and share the podcast. Remember, you can listen to the podcast on iTunes, Podbean, iHeartRadio, Google Play, SoundCloud, and anywhere else you listen to podcasts. For more information on my business as a property manager and real estate team, go visit my website at markguzman.com. I really want to thank all of you for listening. It means the world to me, and I hope today's episode provides you value in your day-to-day life. I created this podcast to help showcase the many great people that live in this world and help share some knowledge that I've learned along the way in life. Again, thank you for listening. Check out our sponsors, and I'll catch you on the next episode.